Well, today's speech comes, as you mentioned, at a recent low point between the two longtime allies and relations between them. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accusing the U.S. of diplomatic sabotage, allowing the UN Security Council to pass an anti-Israeli resolution, even accusing the U.S. of orchestrating the whole thing, something State Department Deputy Spokesman Mark Toner denies.
We reject the notion that the United States was the driving force behind this resolution. That's just not true. The United States did not draft this resolution, nor did it put it forward. We also made clear at every conversation, that the president would make the final decision and that he would have to review the final text before making his final decision. So the idea that this was, again, pre-cooked or that we had agreed upon the text weeks in advance is just not accurate.
Garrett Tenney live for us in Washington. Garrett, Israeli leaders say that they will be keeping a close eye on this speech. A whole lot of people will be doing that.
They absolutely will be, Heather. And a big reason for that is that Israeli leaders are concerned the Obama administration may still take additional steps against the Jewish state in these last few weeks before the next administration comes in. Israeli news outlets are reporting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is particularly worried about the U.S. making a final push at the UN Security Council to lay the groundwork for a Palestinian state. President Obama's Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes said earlier this week the U.S. did not have any plans to do that, and he continued to defend the administration's decision not to protect Israel at the UN last week.
When we see laws that aim to legalize outposts, when we see rhetoric that suggests that this is the most pro-settlement Israeli government in history, and when we see the facts on the ground, again, deep into the West Bank, beyond the separation barrier, we feel compelled to speak up against those actions.
And despite Rhodes' insistence that the U.S. does not plan to take any further action against Israel at the Security Council, the recent actions by the White House have certainly left Israelis unnerved at what could come next, particularly as they claim to have ironclad proof showing the White House orchestrated last week's vote. Heather?
All right, so a lot is being said back and forth about that evidence that they may have. What do we know about that?
Well, some of that evidence is slowly beginning to come out. On Special Report this week, Israel's ambassador to the U.S. said it included evidence that Vice President Joe Biden intervened to get Ukraine to support the resolution last week. And last night, the spokesman for Israel's prime minister said it goes much deeper than that.
We know that there was a deep collusion between the Obama administration and the Palestinians in order to push this United Nations Security Council resolution forward. I don't think that everything that I know can be shared on TV or can be shared with a global audience. I want to explain just very briefly why it's so dangerous, because it actually preempts negotiations. It tries to give the Palestinians everything they want up front.
And this morning, Israeli news outlets are now reporting that 10 days before the UN Security Council vote, Secretary of State John Kerry and National Security Advisor Susan Wright met with a Palestinian delegation to discuss letting that vote pass. This morning, though, a National Security Council spokesman says that meeting never happened, despite State Department records showing otherwise. Heather?
Will be interesting to see if Kerry references that at all when he speaks at 11 a.m. today. Thank you so much.